that we can do it at Press Club of India. I have been, I was in and out of Press Club those days before 2010. This was launched, there were press, I remember, but it's changed a lot. But Press Club was very dear to us. It was a part of what we day to day come in and come out. So I am very proud that we could do this at Press Club of India. So thank you so much.
Namita and the publisher can speak. That would be good. So I invite Nirupama again. If you can do the honor. See, we are going to make very good use of you since you have come specially for this from Chennai.
Formal in just a regular event. It's an event which means something for a lot of people, on both sides of the border. It means a lot, as Sangeeta said, to people in Northeast, because the events directly which are happening in Myanmar affect us in the Northeast and India. India is still part of Northeast, luckily. So, these books, to me, and my contribution was an act of solidarity with the Burmese people's struggle. And this book is very interesting in a way for me to write. The cover shows a tattoo, and I don't know whether he's here, but he will be here. This tattoo is on the back of one of the Burmese refugees. These are people who have either been executed or killed by the Myanmar army. So this cover is a very symbolic one, very real one. And it also explains this book about what is the cultural expressions. Because oftentimes journalists and people who write about Burma all talk about ethnic conflict, about natural disasters, about bombing, and sporadically. So we don't know really what is happening. But Burma is extremely rich in its cultural traditions and one of the most vibrant histories of press freedom and a history which is forgotten. So I think this was an act, it's a small book, but it gives you the other side of Burma. It's a solidarity with those who are fighting. It's not a normal history book. It's an act just of solidarity with struggle. So I hope we have a discussion. And unlike other discussions, I want this to be meaningful because as Sue and I were saying, that this is just on the eve of their elections by a very brutal military junta. So this is, however small number we are, Indians, Burmese, and anyone else, it is an opportunity for us to discuss what we can do at the end of this. So I hope this ends with some concrete program, which of course Somet will tell us. But while these books are being launched, I think we shouldn't forget the publisher. Nothing we can do unless someone publishes our work. Now, Mr. Saxena, who didn't know me also, no books on Burma has been published. Another of my publishers said, nobody wants on Burma. Well, he's right, nobody wants it, but we want people to read. So without knowing us, in a very quiet sort of way, he showed his solidarity. And he said, but what do I have to say? I just published a book. But he didn't. He had the courage. And to us, Akar is part of the team who is doing this contribution in the world of publishing, which is also becoming very narrow.
And thank you for coming for this event. We have been publishing, Akar has been publishing such kind of books. We have published a number of books on these topics. Many NGOs, collaborated with many journalists, and Dr. Nandita Aksar is an internationally acclaimed author. So it is an honor to publish our book. So that's why we published it. Thank you very much for this, coming for this event.
Today, offense is roadblock is and aid restriction further demanding humanitarian needs. What the deliverer is to this region, pay the money of struggle cross-border access from India in collaboration with local networks such as MAC, has emerged as critical lifeline to sustain Haiti's community. The protracted crisis in this area has resulted in the destruction of home, school, health center, and public infrastructure. Civilian population face food insecurity, inadequate shelter, and poor sanitation. Women, children, and displaced families remain at the higher risk of disease and violence. Today, in the Gai region alone, there are approximately 1.7 million internally displaced person IDPs, the largest concentration of IDP nationwide. While nationwide 60 million people face acute food insecurity, with 100,000 children confronting self-malnutrition. Despite local resilience, there is an urgent need to scale up assist through coordinated community-led initiatives. Lastly, we would like to extend our sincere appreciation to the people of India for continued support to the community across the Myanmar Western Range. India humanitarian assistance, including cross-border facilitation, local protection mechanisms, and the provision of food, medical aid, and shelter material, has been invaluable for family residing in resistant control area of the Gai region, Chin State, and Arakan State. Amid the ongoing conflict, displacement, and self restriction imposed by the Honda, India and government have served as a critical lifeline for thousands of vulnerable civilians along the borders. Thank you very much. Thank for all.
Whatever you
ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီ urgent needs တွေကိုကူညီတာများတယ်တကယ်တမ်းကတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ကဒီရေရှည်အတွက်ပေါ့ရေရှည်အတွက်ပို့ပြီးတော့ထိရောက်စေတဲ့အကူအညီမျိုးကပို့ပြီးလိုအပ်တယ်ဘာကြောင့်လဲဆိုတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့စီမှာကဒီနေရာလုံစားမြေတွေဆိုလည်းမရှိတော့ဘူးကျွဲနွားတွေဆိုလည်းမရှိတော့ဘူးပေါ့နော်နေရာအိမ်တွေပိုင်းဆိုလည်းမရှိတော့ဘူးတော့အဓိကပြန်လဲထူထောင်ရင်းနဲ့ပေါ့ဒီအဓိက community resilient အတွက်အဓိကကြားတဲ့အချက်တွေကတော့ပို့ပြီးလိုအပ်ပါတယ်
he said that just in terms of what we need, just even with regards to humanitarian aid, of course we need the basic like food and medicines, but we also need the support for our livelihood because our homes are destroyed, our like the places are burned down. So we need to start from zero, from very beginning to rebuild these families and homes of the people. But there is very little awareness or very little writing about this in the media of how people are living, how people are in need, and it would be good if there is more writing about how the people are in need of such and how people are struggling amidst of all these bombings and airstrikes. Yeah, that's what.
Diwan, if somewhere you remember me.
Yes.
See, my basic question is there's a lot of confusion here. The thing is, on one hand, we hear the Mizoram is giving shelter to the refugees in other side of our side of border in Mizoram. There are more than 30,000 people, those who have taken shelter there. At the same time, we see Government of India transporting those armed forces of Myanmar back to More side or somewhere, Sagain division, those who also run away from rebels and take shelter in India. So what kind of scenario is this? I mean, you know, the thing is little confusion. There's a lot of confusion here also.
ကျွန်တော်ထင်တာကတော့ဗောနော်ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီအိန္ဒိယနဲ့မြန်မာဆက်ဆံရေးမှာကဒီ Indian Army နဲ့မြန်မာ Army ဆက်ဆံရေးကတက်တက်ပေါ့နော်နောက်ဒီ India government နဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီတခြားမြန်မာပြည်ကအင်အားစုတွေဆက်ဆံရေးကတက်တက်ဖြစ်မဲ့တင်အဲအားကြောင့်မို့တချို့ကိစ္စတွေမှာကဒီ confuse ဖြစ်နိုင်တဲ့အခြေအနေတွေတွေ့ရတာပေါ့
He thinks that yes, it is confusing. When we talk of this scenario and this relationship, there are different relationship going on. For example, the relationship between the armies of two sides, Indian Army and Myanmar military, that are also going on. But there are also other relations between government of India and the peoples and the government in Naypyidaw. So there are different relationships currently taking place. That much he can say, and he thinks that.
I think I'm saying it, and we're saying it in a lighter vein, but it's not light. But just think, 1990 was a military crackdown. After the 88 election, Aung San Suu Kyi first time emerges on international stage. And then student activists go into the jungles of Burma to decide to take up arms to fight the military junta. But some students realize that armed struggle is not enough. We need international media attention. And in 1990, the entire international media was focused on the Gulf War. So these three students decided that in order to get media attention, just to have one press conference, they would hijack a plane. It is, there's an amusing side to it, of course, and we may need to get attention for India also. But anyway, but the desperation and the importance of a press conference is really what comes through this story, other than the drama of it. So one of those hijackers was the person the Press Club of India facilitated, and that is Somit. So he and the other, and the three I said, but they didn't have money for three hijackers, so only two people hijacked the plane, Thai Airways, and it landed in Calcutta. And they demand a press conference. That press conference, there's an eyewitness account of that press conference.
Occasions when people become sentimental because we all are human beings. What happens when you revisit your story after 35 years? Ladies and gentlemen, like any of the senior journalists, we have covered so many incidents and events, but all the stories do not belong to your own story. But there are some stories which you start considering your own story, that you become a part of it. Those of us have read Mark Tully's No Full Stop in India, where he says, when after covering a disaster or event or incident I come back, I always think that it gives me a headline. I forget the ones who have suffered or who have made it happen. So we leave those people whose story it is, and the story becomes ours, and we think that today I have got a first headline. Now this has happened with me. That was a Saturday evening, and I remember because I was getting my Sunday off, which is very precious at a very young age, but somehow or other I continued. But then there was a discussion, a meeting, and that was my first Saturday off and Sunday working. So in a Saturday afternoon, where else in the Press Club Kolkata in the lawn, and November, you can understand we were there, and what we were doing, let's not discuss. But I had to go to two places. So that's why I left little early. And while coming out, the television was far behind inside the hall. And I heard of that news that an aircraft was forced to be diverted. First thing first came to my mind is, now, which city it is, I'm not concerned because today is my off day. But I must think that the journalists of that city, they are going to have it a day. So they are going to have it now. When it will conclude, they don't know. So I went to my aunt's place, and those days there was no mobile. So my family knew that I will be visiting my friend. But as soon as I went to my friend's place after my aunt's place, immediately a phone call came, and then I was asked to call back office, and then from there I rushed. I took a cab and rushed to the airport, and I asked my camera persons to go and to bring multiple cassettes, because those days there was no DSNG, no backpack, nothing. But I knew that the story was going to be one of the most important stories of my entire life. Things were pretty different. Everybody was anxious. As you know, there is a laid down principle, laid down operating procedure, what happens at the central level and nearest to the airport where it happens. So the Home Secretary, Mr. Manish Gupta, was called in to lead, and they have to go to the ATC, Air Traffic Control, along with the DGP, to first-hand negotiation. And in Delhi, there is another group, crisis management group. They sit and they were connecting. They were doing the physical negotiation, and then they connect. The initial problem was a language problem. If so remembers, now he speaks fluent English. There was a huge faux pas. Nobody understood what was happening. Neither they could speak English, and neither Mr. Gupta and the DGP, I think Mr. Angshuman Gautav, somebody was there, could not speak. The first thing they said, okay, and there was something else also. They said that, okay, let me bring some Burmese knowing people. So there was one gentleman called Richard Chakraborty who used to work in MEA. He was there in the passport office, so all of us knew, and he was very helpful to the media. So he was called because he was posted in Myanmar, and people say that he was born in Myanmar also, so that's why he spoke fluent Bengali. And another monk, a Burmese monk from the Buddhist temple in Kolkata, there are several Buddhist monks are there, so they were brought in. Now people say that they took that time, they were buying time, they were trying to assess the situation. So that's why they said that, so there is a language gap, you wait, and we'll have a person who could be an interpreter and all that. And obviously they were, losing their patience. But those people came, and the entire media were waiting, and suddenly we got the information there will be a press conference, which we never expected. We thought that there will be an informal briefing after the showdown would take place. Not that evening we knew it much, much later, that a group of people air dashed from Delhi. They were taking the positions to do something. But by that time, the local people, the officers could understand that there was nothing of that sort of causing any injury to the aircraft or to the people. They started realizing that there's a cause was something different. And they were trying to convince their counterparts in Delhi that look, this is something different. It's not a standard one. So don't get into all these, let them, and as per the law, we are the ones who are supposed to negotiate and give feedback, not these people who had come take the leadership in the action. So they were stalled, and the negotiations continued, and we were told there is only one demand, so please get prepared. And there was only one television channel in 1990. Most probably at that time present. I am not very sure, I have to check. So obviously, and I thought that people were facilitating the press conference. Sometimes what happens that you are driven out and then they were evacuated, rescued and things like that. But we were pre-positioned, microphones, it was like a proper press conference. So we thought there's something different. But later on we came to know that there was only one demand, that they should have a press conference. Then a bus of, then at that time, they negotiated that some food to be supplied and they agreed. Unfortunately, the airlines who was supposed to, again there was only one airlines. The airlines were requested to bring food to that aircraft. They said, okay, we'll send it, but nobody dared to go. They did not go, the food did not reach. And the night was, the 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 1:30. But ultimately the food did not reach because the airline's crew was supposed to take the food into the aircraft. They actually did not go, they were afraid. But the negotiation came at the final level. They said that there will be only one bus and Mr. Gupta, Manish Gupta, the Home Secretary, Chief Negotiator, only will go. So he agreed. He was an ex-army person, he agreed. Knowingly or unknowingly, he said, but he understood by them, they have understood that it's of a different kind of action altogether. There was nothing to do any cause of, injury or loss to anybody. So they understood. And so they went, and there was a DIG CID at that time named Mr. Rajat Mojumdar. He was a very daredevil officer. So he somehow got himself hidden into the last seat of the bus. He was not very seen. So he went there, the bus went, he was hidden like that with his AK-57 has just started coming in. And Mr. Manish Gupta came, the gate was opened, everybody came. These two young gentlemen must be in his 22s. I was 26 and he was 22. They came. I still remember. See, did you see that round shaped soap? The moti soap or something, there used to be round shape of soap. Either it was a Buddhist statue of Buddha or a soap. Both. Buddhist statue and soap. And there was a handkerchief like that. And these days we all, when we travel, we all have our earpieces, earphones, ear plugins to listen to all these music and all. So there were some cables and wires. So they were carrying them. Later on we understood it. We did not know, but obviously they were not supposed to come with all these. But later on it was nothing of that sort. Only a soap or a Buddhist statue and some cables. So all the passengers and the crew members were evacuated safely, were given food, went back, and there were press conferences. Interpreters, press conferences. We were happy in this happy ending. I remember two lean boys, and I tried to get in touch with him all 35 years. And I knew that he is also in the media business. We have a senior journalist called Shubir Bhomik. We tried to speak to him, but somehow or other it did not. But suddenly, as Sangeeta said, we came for a different purpose, and I thought that I must go back to my story. I must revisit my story.
Well, thank you, Sangeeta, for inviting me. I think Praveen is not the only person who has been ambushed today. And I do feel ambushed, not hijacked, but ambushed. Exactly. Not Nandita, but Sangeeta. So anyway, it's a real honor for me to be here in the presence of a legendary human rights defender of India, Nandita ji, veteran journalists, in particular Probir Purkayostho, possible revolutionary, quasi-revolutionary, certainly a bit of an insurrectionist, so Mint. My only complaint is that he doesn't get in touch with me when he comes to Delhi very often. I must have done something wrong. And of course, distinguished guests, friends, also the representative of the NUG, Mr. Mint here. It's very dangerous, Sangeeta, to ask me to speak about Myanmar. Because particularly if you have a singer behind waiting to entertain the audience, it might just interfere with the proceedings. But maybe I could just mention a few things and save the rest for another day. Essentially, I was I was ambassador in Myanmar, I think at a fairly interesting stage. This was 2013 to 16. So I witnessed the first truly democratic elections in 2015. And I must say, this was just the beginning of the WhatsApp age. And with the help of WhatsApp, I was able to send our officers to virtually every state and region of the country to be able to monitor the elections. And this has not been written much about. The elections were conducted by a USDP nominated chief election commissioner, and election commissioners are much in the news these days. But it was an impeccably conducted elections. Incredibly disciplined for a people who had not seen elections since practically the 60s. Incredibly disciplined. Entirely manned, or shall I say woman, mostly by school teachers. And of course it's true that there were areas, particularly where the junta had total control, the military had total control, where there were perhaps malpractices. But on the whole, international observers observed that election, and I have to say that in general, it was a free and fair election and one of the most hopeful moments in Myanmar, perhaps in Myanmar's history. So when, the reverse happened after the 2020 elections, it was a real setback, because if we go back a little into history, until the 60s, until the military coup of the junta, Myanmar was one of the most promising countries in Southeast Asia. In fact, it was Rangoon that used to be the hub of air travel, not Bangkok. And the Rangoon University used to be one of the topmost universities in Southeast Asia. In fact, there is a story, possibly apocryphal, that Lee Kuan Yew first wanted to study in Rangoon University. He was apparently rejected, and then I think he moved somewhere else. And the connection between the education institutions in Burma then and India was very, very strong. I mean, you have an entire generation of people who were educated at, North Point in Darjeeling. So what happened was that with this coup, Myanmar was literally set back from one of the most advanced or promising countries in Southeast Asia post-independence to one of the most backward. In fact, at one stage it was a lower middle income country. And the second thing that I'll say, because Prabirda lightly touched on it, is that Myanmar never really had a popular national movement.
Stood up before us. I am just another artist who believes in what's right for our people. So I want to sing this song called Bien Tui Me Ye. So this song is about our loved ones. The meaning of the song is the day we meet again. So I've been singing this song for almost 5 years now. So I really wish I could stop singing this song and finally be together with our loved ones. But since this is the way, this is the path that we choose, I'm still gonna sing it until the end.
Just a peek in the evening, which is going to start at 6 o'clock, the cultural event, and then we're going to show a popular film made on Myanmar. So that's, and with a word specially meant for Press Club of India and its guest and all by the director. So with that we will be showing the film, and then of course Benjamin's going to sing, and we are also having a Rajasthani group in the evening to take over from Benjamin. So please, it starts at 6 o'clock. Okay, and we're going to take a short break, and after that we're going to come back here for the panel discussion, which is on Indian, the struggle for democracy in Myanmar, and why there is often a blackout that we see in Indian mainstream media. So please come back, regroup for that, and we're going to take a short break, and then and I request everyone to also go see the photo exhibition, and this is Just India's Neighborhood. Yeah.
sometimes they ring me up and I said, I'm not a source because whatever my work is, I cannot be the source. So that also is a question which the Indian media can ask, and I hope this leads to something more than just a panel discussion. And he was asking yesterday that just as they have media in Chiang Mai and Mae Sot in Thailand, which will be observing the elections, reporting on the elections, and Vizima is willing to help them in the process, not for giving accommodation or airfares, but it would accommodate. Maybe we can set up some kind of media interest from India, either from Mizoram or from Mae Sot. So over to you, sir.